First teased in the detective case during the 10th anniversary event, the Raptor was released as a mini luchador, a titan that has held its place in the meta for many years. This is an extensive guide on how to build and play the Raptor, going in depth on which weapons, drones, specializations, pilots, and pilot skills to use. I'll only be covering some of the more relevant weapons for Raptor, including its signature weapons, and I'll also be rating them based on what works best for Raptor. But not every weapon family will be mentioned, so if you were interested in a particular weapon and I didn't mention it, don't hesitate to leave a comment and ask me about it. I will be using 2 different Raptor throughout this guide, one at Mark II level 1 with drones ranging from levels 1 through 4, specializations at level 1, and a pilot that is only half built, so it will be more accurate to what a free-to-play experience might be like. On the flip side, the other Raptor is at Mark III with a completely maxed drone and a maxed pilot and maxed out specializations. The focus of the guide will be on the Mark II Raptor with only a very small section dedicated to the Mark III one, and whenever the Mark III one appears, you will know. All of the weapons mentioned, with the exception of 3, will all be showcased and talked about at Mark II level 1. For the mothership, I will use the Avalon since it's a good general mothership that's relatively easy to obtain. The guide is targeted towards players of higher leagues such as Masters or Champions, so if you are in a lower league, take what I say with a grain of salt for some aspects of Raptor. Mainly weapon choices that I say are not worth running on Raptor will perform well in the lower leagues. I will also go over how far to upgrade Raptor in order for it to be usable, and if it's worth it for you to invest your resources into it. And just one last thing before I start, a ton of time and effort goes into these guides, so leaving a like or maybe even subscribing would make my day. Thanks, and with that out of the way, let's fly right into it. Raptor has received 2 different, seemingly harsh nerfs so far. One in 10.4, which reduced its reflector's reflected damage and the built-in weapons damage, and one in 10.8, which reduced the reflector's power, both in damage reflected and damage blocked, and reduced the jump's range and height significantly. Both of these rebalances came with small increases to speed, durability, and ability time respectively, which does basically nothing. The only really noticeable nerf for Raptor is the jump height reduction, but otherwise the reflector is still at a good value since it lasts so long, and the Raptor's durability starts out at almost 500,000 with minimal investment. Its base firepower is alright, with 1 heavy and 2 lights, but don't expect any crazy living legend streaks, since that contradicts Raptor's playstyle. Raptor's ability is called Comet Splash, and when activated, Raptor jumps in the direction you're moving, activating a reflector that blocks and reflects some damage. The reflector is active the entire time you are airborne. Activating the ability a second time while still in the air will cause you to plummet down at a steep angle and deal some AoE damage, and enter into the next ability phase. Once landed, Raptor activates its built-in weapon that automatically targets all enemies within 100 meters of you. This phase lasts for 7 seconds, and the reflector is active the entire time as well. Raptor actually has 2 charges of the ability, and the second can only be activated after both phases of the ability are done. It is worth noting that you have to be extremely careful with cycling your abilities, and not just using them to get to a different location quicker, because Raptor has the longest ability cooldown in the game, with a massive 35 seconds before 1 charge is replenished. Is it worth it to invest into Raptor? As of now, my answer is kind of. I think it is very worthwhile to take Raptor to Mark II level 1 since the Mark III bonus is effective but minimal. A lot of hangars have too many ranged builds and robots that cannot hold down beacons, and even at low Mark II levels, Raptor can fill that role very effectively, being able to survive some pretty heavy onslaught with minimal investment. In conclusion, invest in Raptor at your own risk. As of now, I would upgrade it to Mark II level 1 since it's easy to do so and most of its ability stats are maxed out at that level. But no further unless you have the resources, because Mark II is where it becomes really strong and a Mark III investment is a bit overkill. Raptor has 2 pilots, Gina Bertini and Gloria Earhart. Gloria allows Raptor to have an EMP effect go off every time it lands with its ability, and causes the splash to do extra damage. As for how much, a simple test shows that Gloria adds an extra 4,000 damage per splash, which is pretty bad. Gina offers 30% extra speed and 15% extra repair for the built-in weapon after landing, for a total of 65% damage as repairs for the built-in weapon. When comparing the two, they both allow Raptor to have extra survivability. Gina by increasing healing, and Gloria by shutting down enemies. And while there isn't too much of a difference, I think Gloria beats Gina out by a little bit, since the EMP is just so helpful for encounters, and Raptor can EMP multiple enemies at once, and opponents often slip into phase shift or their abilities when a Raptor lands near. For pilot skills, Raptor has one that stands above the rest as a must for every Raptor. If you only have one pilot skill in Raptor, make sure it's the Clever Survivor skill. While on other bots, Clever Survivor often doesn't make too much of a difference, on Raptor it's literally game changing. It separates the well-built Raptors from the badly built Raptors. In a Raptor 1v1, it's often the difference between who lives and who dies. The reason Clever Survivor is the absolute best skill for Raptor is because at 50% HP, Raptor gets an additional charge of the ability. And remember what I said earlier, Raptor has the longest ability cooldown in the game, and this skill just cuts the entire cooldown and gives you a charge instantly. In a normal game, Raptor might only get 2 abilities off before it dies, but with this skill, as long as you are cycling your abilities well, and you are not in the middle of a 4v1, Raptor is almost always able to get 4 abilities off instead. After, health, repair, and defense skills are the next best thing for Raptor. Damage skills come next, and then speed skills are not recommended at all. Raptor, in my opinion, was given the second best specialization in the game, Brawler, which gives it access to the Repair Amplifier, the Last Stand, and the Immune Amplifier. As usual, the attack is useless for Raptor, and the defense is a downgrade for the Brawler at best. Since you will all choose the Repair Amplifier for the first slot, the Last Stand and the Immune Amp are both good choices, with the Immune Amp being on par with the Last Stand if you don't have Avalon, and the Last Stand being one of the best modules in the game. For active modules, the Unstable Conduit and Repair units are some of the best. For drones at levels 1 through 4... Hold on! No, wait, go back. We're not done yet. There is actually a module I consider better than any other option, and that is the Jump Unit. While seemingly innocent, the Jump Unit actually has more utility on bots with actual jumping abilities than on those without. By pressing your ability and the Jump Unit at the exact same time, it allows you to catapult yourself over 10 times farther than you would normally get with just the plain ability, thus extending the duration of the reflector and literally allowing Raptor to cross maps and to get almost anywhere. Now, for drones levels 1 through 4, Shy is the best bet. Raptor can easily jump into a group of enemies, jump out, and leave with all the defense points. Reviver and Seeker are also strong options, and even Starter can work if you have nothing else. For max drones, the best one is now Hawkeye, which gives shield breaker and gray damage resistance. The Hawkeye is actually, in my opinion, a solid investment since it can be used on bots without reflectors as well, like the Loki and Skyros. But I would only recommend it after you have upgraded more universal drones like Shy, Armadillo, and Seeker, which are the next best options. Raptor can be dropped at any time during the match, although I do prefer to have it as a first drop. You do want to stay away from Titans and Reapers since they have such an easy time going through reflectors. When using Raptor, conserve your abilities as much as possible. That means not using both of them just to get to a beacon faster. It's fine to use one as long as you have Clever Survivor or hide for a little bit after using it. Again, Raptor has the longest ability cooldown in the game, but a long duration, and learning to cycle them is key to becoming a good Raptor player. A good rule of thumb is to wait at least 5 to 10 seconds after using the first ability before using the second so that you can get around 3 abilities off, although if it is an emergency, using the second one immediately is fine. But it is better to escape if it's a bad situation. While I don't usually recommend motherships, the Avalon is going to be a perfect pair with Raptor, and running Raptor without it is risky because EMP or Lockdown prohibits the use of its ability, and that's often a death sentence. Raptor's best playstyle is as a prolonged damage dealer. Its firepower just on par for that role, but you want to focus on survivability more than anything, since capping and holding down heavily contested beacons is what Raptor is best at, which means choosing weapons that are more suited to prolonged brawls with multiple enemies. I split this section up into chapters based on the individual weapon families, so you can easily find the one that interests you the most, and I'll also rate them based on how well they perform on Raptor. The weapons released with Raptor are also one of the best for survivability, especially on Raptor. They function like the built-in weapon where they heal 40% of the damage done. The damage in one clip is around 300,000, which is enough to one-clip smaller enemies and take out large chunks of health away from stronger ones, which also means that they restore 120,000 HP to Raptor every clip. They reload automatically as well, but it's a bit of a wait at a full 16 seconds. Their range at 350 meters is more than enough and almost always allows for Raptor to stay at max green HP, and with Hawkeye and the Mark III bonus providing gray damage resistance, having tons of green HP is easy, so the vacuum weapons stand solidly in A tier. Raptor is a brawler, so having 100 meters of range is actually not a problem. Only use this build while using the jump unit trick, since Raptor is not fast enough to make use of these weapons by itself. These go perfectly with the Raptor's one versus multiple enemies playstyle, being able to hit more than one target and go through stealth. The reload is long, but the clip size is massive, and it comes with around 1 million raw damage per clip, which is insane. And the Raptor with this build is one of the fastest Titan chargers in the game, A+ tier. Possibly some of the most underrated weapons in the game. I hardly see anyone running them, but they have some of the most consistent damage in the game, with over 200,000 per clip on Raptor. They do have a 5-second reload, but for a DPS calculation of around 20,000, it's not the worst. But Raptor likes consistency, and that's a box that they'll check off. They do have a slowdown effect, but it hardly seems to do anything. And they have a high range, but only work well at closer than 300 meters. The shot grouping skills are available as well for them. B tier. The original variant of the sonic weapons are, disappointingly, a downgrade from the newer ones. Carrying 400,000 damage per clip while only having 200 meters of range with spread does not make sense at all. Overall, these can be useful, but only on a single target, and I do not recommend you investing into them. C tier. These are on par and a good substitute for the Brisant and Splinter. Consistent damage but only at ranges of closer than 300 meters. They carry 200,000 damage per clip and fire empty quick. The problem with both these and the Brisant family is with Raptor, once the clip is empty, you are helpless for 5 seconds, which can be all the time needed to die. You can try and substitute the reload with the jump, but realistically this isn't consistent. B tier. These have good range and good damage output, which makes them a prime choice for Raptor, although I do see a damage nerf in the future for them, so I would invest in another option. They also have a neat 100% gray damage effect, which makes them excellent for taking out other Raptors or other tanky bots. These also have some of the highest damage output, with over 500,000 raw damage per clip. I would rate these somewhere between A+ to S tier. Thank you so much for making it to the end, and I'm so sorry the audio for this guide is so scuffed. It should be fixed by the next one, but anyway, thank you again, and I'll see you in the next one.